Yo, Twitter is one of the funniest places because it just truly is unhinged. One day you can scroll and you can see gender war commentary, you can see political battles, you can see skits and rap beats, but then one day you can see the most unique and niche conversation specifically tailored to you. This day I scrolled and they're speaking about who is the best dressed sitcom character of all time. Some people said Will Smith isn't fresh. Other people said that he was. Some people said it was Martin, who was the fly one, who was the true fly one. So in this video, we're going to be talking about black sitcoms and who is the flyest. So make sure you leave a like and subscribe. So growing up, Fresh Prince was my favorite show because it's the one I was allowed to watch first. I only watched Martin in high school because it's a little bit more mature. So I'm a little bit biased on this. But I'm going to break it down and break down the characters first, and then you guys will get my opinion on who I think the flyest is. And then also make sure you guys leave in the comment section down below, who do you feel is the flyest? So Martin was pretty much known for his jackets. He wore a lot of Pele and leather jackets. And Pele, if you guys didn't know, is a popular brand in the 90s and the 2000s, and I believe late 80s as well. And then he was known to wear leather vests. He wore turtlenecks a lot. He wore like crew neck sweaters. He wore a lot of track suits, jumpsuits. And then obviously his kick game, which I'll discuss later on, was very put together well. He also did wear a lot of HBCU merchandise, which was a common thing on sitcoms back then to promote black kids going to black colleges. If you guys don't know what a HBCU is, it's a historically black colleges. But he also wore some PWIs as well, like the University of Michigan, which is a cool gear. He wore his starter gear, had his starter hats, all that type of stuff. So it's a little bit different comparing him to Will because he started off as a grown man and played a grown man through and through. Will started off playing a teenager and then going into a grown man. So you're going to notice the difference when it comes to his swag. I would say that Martin's swag is more common for people around my age because, you know, it's more still flashy, but it's still put together in a nice way where you don't look like you're not dressing your age, if that makes sense. Okay, so when it comes to the Fresh Prince, there's two characters that I want to mention. Carlton. A lot of people look at Carlton and says that Carlton doesn't have swag, but he does. He has the Black Ivy swag. He wore a lot of Ralph Lauren. I'm a huge Ralph Lauren fan. He wore cable knit sweaters, things of that nature, cardigans and all that type of stuff. And I think he did it in a way where it wasn't tasteless, it wasn't tacky, and he always looked well together and important when it came to suiting as well. When it comes to Will, he's more out there, he's more flamboyant, he's more flashy. In the earlier seasons, you can clearly see that he's younger. He wore a lot of wild prints of clothing, wild like button-ups. He had the dungarees on, or overalls if you want to call them that. He styled his shoes in a way that was unconventional, like not wearing laces with the Jordan 5s. So you can see that his style is very different from Martin. He did have leather jackets. He still wore a lot of jerseys in the earlier seasons and later seasons. In the later seasons when he was in college, you can see not as much loud prints, but that could be a lot to do with that era because in the mid 90s you can see a lot of flashy prints started to go away, but in the early 90s you can see that there was more flash when it comes to patterns and prints. Will also didn't wear as much jewelry as Martin, but the jewelry that he did wear or the accessories that he did wear were basically Afrocentric in the earlier seasons. And then he always had a nice like hat, like a snapback or a strap back. So now that we got those out the way, we got to talk about the kick game. Now the kick game is kind of more even match because I would say Will won it when it comes to the fashion, but when it comes to the kick game, it's pretty much neck and neck. So we'll start off with Will. So Will wore the Jordan 5s a lot, especially in the earlier seasons. He wore the Jordan 7s, he had some Jordan 6s, and I believe he wore the Jordan 9s and the Jordan 11s. I have 2 pairs of the shoes that he wore in the show, the Grape 5s and the Columbia Blue 11s. He also wore a lot of Nike trainers. So he had a pair of like the Nike Air High Zooms. He wore a lot of Tims in the later seasons, which was technically new for its time, especially because he was living in LA at the time in the show. But I think in the East End, because his character's from Philly, that'd be more common. So you have that in play, and a lot of different trainers at play that you don't really see too much of right now, and I'm gonna name some of them in just a moment. So he had some of the shoes like the Air Max Trainer 94, he had the Solo Flight 90, he had the ACG Boltaro boot, he wore the Air Maestros, he had the Air Flight Lights, he wore the Air Max 180, he had the Air Force One High, he had the Air Max 95, Air Force 93, and then he also wore the CB34s as well. So when it comes to Martin, people do argue that he has a better kick game. So he did wear Jordan 7s on the show. He wore Jordan 10s a lot, I believe, and then he wore the Jordan 12s. He never had foam posits, but I feel like foam posits came later on, like in 96. So, and I believe both of them finished their shows around that time, so you wouldn't see it. But he also did wear Turf Diamonds in the Baltimore Raven colorway. And then he had lots of different Air Maxes, and then he wore the Kamikaze, the Reeboks. So what I would argue is that Will kind of stuck to Jordans, Nikes, and Tims, but Martin had more diversity where he was wearing different brands from like Adidas to Reebok to Nike and Jordan. So what do you guys think so far? Do you think Will has the upper hand, or do you think Martin has the upper hand? I think overall I'll give it to Will as the flyest character ever, but I would say Martin is a great contender. I do believe Martin has a more diverse footwear. However, if it were to come down to strictly clothing, then I'll give it to Will, because he wore brands like Cross Colors and Karl Kani on the show as well, which were popular black brands at the time. And then he also could wear polo as well on there and mix it and match it with his footwear, and he just looked the flyest to me personally. So you guys need to let me know in the comment section down below, who do you believe is the flyest fashion icon in sitcom history? With that said, your boy Darius D is signing off once again. Y'all stay suave, live long, and prosper. You feel me?